Important turning points for the Russell family and other important characters were presented in If You Want to Cook an Omelette, the sixth episode of The Gilded Age Season 3, which aired on HBO and Max on July 27, 2025. The growing hostility in the Russell home, especially between George and Bertha, is a significant highlight, with a stressful meeting with J.P. Morgan indicating a possible financial collapse. George, struggling with a collapsing corporate empire, must fight to acquire a Chicago train line. After reading a letter from Gladys detailing her suffering in England as a result of Lady Sir's influence, he becomes extremely irate and confronts Bertha icily, saying, "You make me weak and I find that hard to forgive." In response, Bertha travels to England to urge Gladys to confront Lady Sarah, emphasizing their tense mother-daughter relationship. Another significant event is Marion Brooks developing skepticism over her engagement to Larry Russell, which is brought on by his dubious behavior at the Haymarket, and challenges her opinion of him. Marion's doubts are further complicated when Oscar Van Ryn's eagerly anticipated encounter with Maud Beaton, which is sparked by Larry's information, takes a dramatic turn. While Ada and Jack have an open discussion about Jack's future and his newfound money from his clock invention, Peggy Scott's story progresses as she confides in Dr. Kirkland about her background, implying a significant decision that would define her career. A pivotal moment in the season's narrative arc, the episode's teaser highlights the eroding alliances and growing stakes, laying the groundwork for the Russells' once untouchable status to be publicly unraveled. With Season 3 of The Gilded Age being more than halfway over, there are still many unanswered mysteries and significant plot points for each of the show's primary characters to explore. In particular, The Gilded Age Season 3 Episode 4's wedding was one of the most extravagant in a series full of glitzy occasions, but it also caused a lot of problems for many of the people involved. In Episode 5, Gladys Russell and Hector, Duke of Buckingham, discussed their miserable marriage and the effects it had on her family in particular. Larry Russell, Peggy Scott, and Marion Brooke are all looking forward to new business and love, while Bertha and George Russell are going through greater upheaval than ever before. At the conclusion of The Gilded Age Season 3, Episode 4, Gladys Russell and Hector, Duke of Buckingham, were newlyweds. However, their relationship is unsurprisingly off to a rough start. Just one episode later, Gladys has expressed her belief that the historic Sidmouth Castle is too much for the Duke's sister, Lady Sarah. Lady Sarah has humiliated and denigrated Gladys whenever she has had the opportunity since they arrived at the Duke's ancestral estate. Lady Sarah is obviously in charge at Sidmouth Castle, as seen by her reprimands of Gladys in front of guests and her command of the Duke's attention. However, this presents a significant issue because Gladys is now the lady of the house. In Episode 4, Lady Sarah seemed strange, and this feeling persisted when it was revealed in Episode 5 that she intended for Hector to wed a wealthy American. In order to flourish in England in the upcoming episodes, Gladys must learn to express herself because Lady Sarah and the Duke want her money, but don't want her presence. The Russell family is already very proud of Gladys and the Duke's marriage, but Larry Russell and Marion Brooks' recent engagement only made their story even more dramatic this season. The couple is finally engaged after waiting months to completely clarify their affections for one another, but not everyone is overjoyed. Following their official engagement, Larry and Marion promptly inform both of their families, but neither Larry's mother, Bertha Russell, nor Marion's aunt, Agnes Van Ryn, appear to be pleased. Given that both ladies feel excluded, it's possible that their emotions are more a result of their personal fears. Marion and Larry's relationship doesn't feel solid yet, even with the criticism they already receive from their relatives. The Gilded Age throws a curveball in the episode when George Russell asks Larry to travel to Arizona for work, interrupting their plans. Risky business dealings have always been a part of George Russell's repertoire, but Season 3 of The Gilded Age is raising the stakes for the robber baron once more. George Russell's business partners have no qualms in telling him that his new proposal for a transcontinental railroad may be taking on more than he can handle. In previous seasons, George Russell has consistently prevailed against the doubts of other merchants. However, his actions in Season 3 seem much more reckless. George was warned by his own secretary that he was going too far, raising the possibility that he and the Russell family may lose everything in the final episodes of Season 3. In The Gilded Age Season 3, Peggy Scott had undergone significant change, yet Episode 5 brought back a flashback to her Season 2 storyline. After recovering from her illness, Peggy developed a new romantic interest in Dr. William Kirkland, even while his mother already causes some problems for the two of them. Episode 5 revealed that her background could also be problematic.